faithful servants. Proverbs chapter 4, we will begin to look again at verse 23 through 27. Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. That verse alone says a whole lot. It packs a mighty punch. For it says, keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. I'm going to preach from verse 24. Put away from thee a forward mouth and perverse lips, and far from thee. Look at verse 25. And let thine eyelids look right on, and let thy eyelids look straight before thee. Ponder the path of thy feet, and let all thy ways be established. Verse 27 says, turn not to the right hand, nor to the left. Remove thy foot from evil. Look at your neighbor and say, remove thy foot from evil. Now look at your neighbor and say, keep thy heart. You may be seated. More people die of heart attacks than any other killer that we know. The same, though, is so very true of our spiritual lives. God always begins with the heart. Then He works outwards. The heart, though, always comes first. This speaks of the inner life. He told us to keep it. It is our responsibility. It is your personal responsibility to keep your heart. Saint of God, a guest of ours today, it is not your wife's position. It is not your husband's position. It is not the pastor's position. It is your personal responsibility to keep your heart. God would not give us an assignment that we could not keep or accomplish. All excuses are removed. He said, keep thy heart. This is not optional. This is not speaking of a certain conviction, but this is a direct command from Jesus Christ. He has told you and I, it is our place, it is your duty, it is your responsibility to keep your heart. For out of the heart comes the issues of life. The reason why there are people that are bitter is because they did not keep their heart with diligence. There are people here that are miserable and upset and wounded. It's because you did not diligently keep your heart. You did not allow your heart to be protected. For the Word says that out of the heart comes the issues of life. If you don't like the way you are, then you need to take a good look at your heart, and you need to evaluate your heart. What have I allowed to get in my heart? What have I allowed to take bed in the seed of my heart and begin to grow? If you don't like the individual that you are, there's no doubt you've got a sick heart. This, my friend, is a command from God that you and I are to keep our hearts. Therefore, our action is to begin immediately to keep our heart. We cannot wait till tomorrow. We cannot wait till next week. We cannot wait for a year from now. You can't wait till you get everything right. You can't wait till everything in your life straightens out. It is your responsibility to keep your heart, and you must start immediately to keep your heart right. The heart is to be guarded at all cost. In armed warfare, the vital parts of the body are always protected. In our Christian realm, that is always the heart. The reason why we have so many casualties spiritually is because we ignore the heart. David wrote about a fixed heart. In Psalms 112:7, he shall not be afraid of evil tidings. His heart is fixed, trusting in the Lord. Can I tell you, saint of God and guest of ours today, if there's ever an hour, and if there's ever a day, and if there's ever a moment that you've got to have a fixed heart, you've got to make sure that your heart is fixed. Here, Pastor, today, the enemy is a roaring lion seeking whom he may devour. The enemy is after your heart because the devil knows the moment he can plant something in this heart, the issue of life are going to change their effect in your spirit and in your soul. The heart is such a vital organ in our body, but it's also a vital organ in our spiritual walk with Jesus Christ. The reason why we have so many spiritual casualties is because we don't take heed into protecting our heart. We don't take heed, Tommy, in making sure that our heart is protected. We don't take heed in making sure that the heart is well taken care of. Somebody needs to make up in their mind, and somebody needs to determine that I am going to protect my heart at all cost. I alone am responsible for my heart. It is up to me to make sure that my heart is fixed. People say hurtful things about me all the time. People misread me. People misjudge me. People accuse me all the time. But it's up to me to make sure that my heart is fixed, my mind is made up, and my feet are on the solid rock. Notice also the term, with all diligence. With all diligence. Tommy, come up here and just hold these for me. I don't want you to throw because I want to do it. Just get up here, hurry. With all diligence. Oh. With all diligence. Listen. The heart should receive the greatest effort. Too many Christians try to live their Christian life with no effort. Grandma, catch. Oh, Sign her up. Sign her up. Look, Grandma. Are you on the ball team? Well, that may tell it all right there. Listen. Too many Christians try to live our lives with no effort. But the instructions is this: with all diligence. It tells us that it is a constant war and will require much spiritual energy. Just coming to church Sunday morning and Sunday night to in-home Bible study and Wednesday night, you cannot maintain a Christian walk with God. Your heart will not stay protected from the wiles of the enemy. He is a seeking lion, seeking whom he may devour. You must understand, folks, that pastor is not trying to preach against things that you and I enjoy. That's not what I'm preaching against. But hear me, we better not give so much of our energy to temporal things that have no value, that have no meaning, that really have no purpose. Tommy, think about it. Your team and my team that we root for so hard, they didn't even make. He's got a broken heart. Hear me. Hear me. You better wake up today. You know what our problem is? I'll tell you what our problem is. The enemy has got us sidetracked on temporal things. The enemy has got our affections up on things here of this world that's going to one day all burn up because the Bible says it's all wood, hay, and stubble. It's not going to profit a man anything, but he's got you and I so wrapped up. Our schedules are so busy. Our time is so spoken for that we don't have time. And then when we do come to the house of the Lord, we sit there half asleep because we're exhausted, because we got a few moments to just sit down and do nothing. And so we start dozing off and we start nodding at the head because we give our energy to everything else but to the thing that matters the most. Hear me today. You better not close your eyes. You better not look. Here's what I'm trying to tell you. Folks, it's not because we're not good people. It's not because we don't love God, but we have gotten ourselves into the place where the enemy has lured us to sleep and the enemy has rocked us to sleep. We're so busy taking our kids here and there and being involved here and being involved there and doing this and doing that. And there's nothing wrong with it when it's in its right content. But when it becomes before the things of God, and when you don't have time to teach them when they come in and when they go out, and when you don't have time to have prayer with your family and Bible reading with your family because you're too busy running, you better watch it because your heart might be in trouble. Please hear Pastor today. It is so important that we don't give so much of our energy to things that have no meaning when it's all said and done. I'm hoping, I'm not praying, I'm sorry, I'm not praying, but I'm hoping that Manny goes to the Superdome. I do. I hope they go. I'm not praying for them because I'm not going to waste my prayer, because God don't answer those kind of prayers. Because if He did, the Cardinals would be world champions every year. So I'm not wasting my prayers on something that's not going to matter. But I hope they go. But you better hear this preacher. They play football today, and they're not even known tomorrow. But your soul is going to live forever. Your heart is going to know. It's easy to fool the eyes, but here it's very hard to fool the heart. The bottom line between good and evil runs through the heart of every man. Every man. Every man. Every man. Every man. Every man. Every man, every man. You've got to get it. You've got to understand it. It runs through every man, every man, every man, every woman, every boy, every girl. It runs through it. It runs through it. Come on, saints of God. We got to wake up and realize that we're in a war. We got to wake up and realize that the enemy is after us. When are we going to realize the importance of guarding my heart? My heart, my heart. Greed. Greed is not a financial issue. No, it's not. Greed is not a financial issue. It's a heart issue. It's a heart issue. The success of your Christian walk depends upon the following of the principles that God has given us. And He has given us those principles in Proverbs chapter 4 and verse 24 through 27. And I know that I pronounced that word wrong. And I have tried a lot to pronounce it right. But you'll just know what I'm saying. But Proverbs 4:24. Put away from thee a what? Froward mouth, and a perverse lips put far from thee. Listen to this. He said, put it away from their mouth. Put it away from your mouth. Far from thee. Forward has to do with that which is bad. It speaks of foul language, dirtiness, perversions. Your mouth will have a bearing. Oh my. Your mouth will have a bearing on your heart. You better stay attention. You better not be watching. Hear me, saint of God. Evil speech is a sure indicator of an evil heart. 1 Corinthians 15:33. Be not deceived. Evil communication corrupts good manner. People can somewhat control their speech when they want to, when it is in their best interest to do so. But James says this, that the tongue can no man tame. Only God can totally fix that problem. He does it with giving us a change in our heart. Proverbs 6:2. Thou art snared with the what? Words of thy mouth. Thou art taken with the words of thy mouth. Proverbs 6:12 says, a naughty person, a wicked man, walketh with a what? There is a connection between the tongue and the heart. You see, He's trying to tell you and I, are you all feeling left out? There's a connection. There's a connection. There's a connection between our tongue and our heart. That's why you've got to be careful that you understand the words that you are saying, because the words that you are saying are eventually going to make it into your heart. Listen, you will become like you talk about. Matthew 12:34-36 says, "O generations of viper, how can you be an evil speak good things? For out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaketh." Look at that. For out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaks. A good man out of the good treasures of the heart bringeth forth good things, and an evil man out of the evil treasures bringeth forth evil things. But I say unto you that every idle word that a man shall speak, they shall give an account thereof in the day of judgment. Did you realize that was in the Word of God? Every idle word that a man shall speak, they shall give an account thereof in the last days of judgment. For by thy words thou shalt be justified, and by thy words thou shalt be condemned. Your mouth will do much more damage to your heart than anything else can. Therefore, in keeping your heart like it should be means you must also keep your mouth. A wrong mouth and a right heart will not occupy the same body. Don't allow your mouth to override your heart. I know of situations where people have talked so much until they had to do what their mouth said to keep pace with their peers. That's not keeping your mouth. The tongue is so uncontrollable. James tells us in the 3rd chapter in verse 8, but the tongue can no man tame. It is what? It is an unruly evil. Did you get that? An unruly evil full of... Some of you need to grab a hold of that tongue, because it's full of deadly poison. The greatest problem most churches have is loose talk. Loose talk damages innocent people. We are taught how very difficult of a thing it is to govern the tongue. For every kind of beast and bird and serpent and the things in the sea is tamed and have been tamed of man. But the tongue can no man tame. The apostle said lions and the most vicious beasts, as well as horses and camels and creatures of the greatest strength, have been tamed and governed by man. And yet, no man has tamed the tongue without the supernatural grace and the supernatural mercy and the supernatural power of God Himself. The apostle does not intend to represented as a thing impossible, but as a thing extremely difficult, which therefore will require great watchfulness and pain and prayer to keep it in due order. A tongue is like fire. It's a world of iniquity. There is such an abundance of sin in the tongue that it is called the world of iniquity. And the whole body is often drawn into sin and drawn into guilt by the tongue. Look at what Solomon said in Ecclesiastes 5 and 6. Suffer not thy mouth to cause thy flesh to sin. Folks, we are living in a day today where the enemy is going to try to get you any way he can. The enemy is going to try his very best to get you derailed. He's going to try to get you messed up. You've got to understand that we are living in a day today that, friend, the enemy don't want you to hear well done. The enemy don't want you to hear enter in to the gates of the Lord. The enemy don't want you to hear this is the day that the Lord has made. You know what the devil wants? The devil wants to put in you bitterness and resentment and anger and wickedness, because if he can damage your heart, you have to understand that out of the heart comes the issues of life. Out of this heart comes these issues. This little heart, you can't live without it. And the enemy knows that if he can get your heart sick, if the enemy can get you to have a heart attack in your spiritual life, the chances of you surviving is very slim to none. The devil is after your walk with God. Do you understand that today? He wants you. He wants you more than anything. He wants you to allow this to infect this. I'm going to say it again. He wants you to allow this to affect this. And when this gets affected, you're going to be on life support. Because you can't live with a sick heart. He's after your heart. Come on, Tommy, walk with me. That's why it's so very important. Do you have one of these? You need one. Do you have one? You need one. Do you have one? Oh, you got one? I like that. Now, you better catch, because them other two did. Here. Now, that wasn't my throw there. I won't accept that one. Listen to me today. The enemy wants to affect your mouth. He wants to put poison in your mouth. He wants you to get angry at a brother. God knows you need it. Take that. You got to catch it, though. You've got to understand, if the enemy can get this, if he can get this, he's got you. Do you understand that? A little lie here, a little sowing of the discord here, a little bit here, and a little bit there. You know what it's going to cause? It's going to cause this heart to get damaged. I want you to take this with you. Give me another one. Come on, you got to stay with me, son. Take that with you to work. Michael, Take this with you to work. Where's my oil, guys? Stand up. All you that are on oil rigs, come on, stand up. I want to make sure you guys get one. Some of you need to catch better. Listen to me. I want you to take this heart with you because you live in an atmosphere. You work in an atmosphere where there's cussing, where there's filthy talk, where there's filthy jokes being told. There's everything that can come against your heart. That's why you as men have got to make up in your mind and say, as for me and my house, we are going to serve the Lord. You got to make up in your mind that nothing in this world is worth my heart. My heart. If I don't guard my heart, who's going to guard my heart? Come on, musicians. If I don't guard it, who will guard it? You've got to guard that heart when you're at college. There's a lot of sin. There's a lot of dirtiness. There's a lot of filthiness on that campus. But Sam, you got to realize it's my responsibility. I've got to guard my heart. Folks, if you don't take the obligation and if you don't take the lead in that, then nobody else is going to guard it for you. And what's going to happen is you're going to be a casualty in hell. You understand? Hell. You got 3. You need to watch them all. Hell. Hell wants this. Do you understand that? Hell wants this. But it's up to you to guard it. It's up to you to say, you know what? My walk with God is more important than anything else in this life. It's more important, and I'm not going to list the list. You know the list, but it's more important than anything. If your walk with God is not number 1 on the list, then you may have a sick heart. You need this. You work in it every day. But remember, Patty, it takes a lot of people's lives. It's the number 1 killer. This heart right here. This little organ. This little organ. Could it be that it's the little foxes that come into our lives, that come into our spirits, that come into our souls? Could it be? Could it be? Just could it be that they're after our heart? Listen. You can read your Bible, and you better read it every day. And you better pray every day. And I'm going to tell you something. If you don't protect that heart, if you don't protect this heart, the enemy's after your heart. That's why, Pastor, on a Thanksgiving Sunday morning, instead of preaching about Thanksgiving, I'm preaching about the heart. Because you see, you can't give thanksgiving unless you have your heart protected. You understand that? The devil wants you to spew venom. The devil wants you to rip on your brother, rip on your sister. The devil wants you to get crossways. I don't know why they allow ignorant drivers on the road. I don't know where Stanley is when I need him the most. But I'm going to tell you something I made up in my mind. I'm not going to hell. You got one of these? You got one, Brother Simmons? Catch that, Daryl. You got one, Mother? Give them girls one. Listen to me. You got one? You need it. And you need to protect it at all cost. John, you hear me. There's nothing in this world that's worth that heart. You want pastor to come and preach you a pretty good little message so you can go home and hoop and holler. But I'm not after pretty messages. I'm after getting you saved. I'm after getting you ready. Because if our hearts are not fully in line with God, if this heart, you got one? Now you do. Is not protected. Is everybody on this row got one? You got one? Here. God knows you need it, son. Listen to me. God brought you a long ways. I'll never forget the first Sunday you walked in here. Those tan hands that everybody wished they had were wider than these white boys. As you were gripping those pews because something you were feeling in your spirit. Jason, don't ever forget that first feeling. Guard it. Son, guard it with your life. The enemy is going to do everything he can. Everything he can to cause you to be a casualty. But you can't be a casualty, friend. Everybody got one. Because if we're a casualty, what good are we to the kingdom? We can't be any good to the kingdom if we allow it to take our heart. You understand what I'm saying? I know I'm taking a little time. I know I could have had an owl, but I didn't want to do an owl. I wanted to do this. Ange, I need you to run quickly to my office. I need you to get the rest of those for me. Because here's what I know. That if we don't protect it, I see your heart. I didn't keep me one. If we didn't keep this heart right, if we don't guard it, who's going to guard it? If you don't stay guard over it, who's going to guard it for you? Everything that comes out of here affects this. Anybody in here had a heart attack? Will you raise your hand? I know one has. Two. How many's had open heart surgery? Yeah. It's not a pretty surgery, is it? It takes weeks and months and years to recover if this thing is damaged. Listen to me, and you better listen to me loudly and clearly. If the enemy can get your heart damaged, he knows it's going to take a long time to get you back worshiping, to get you back praising, right? To get you back magnifying God, right? He knows that. Your heart. Oh, you got hearts? Who needs one? Let me tell you something. Come on, Tommy. You young girls, you better take these hearts. Because I was only going to give it to one per family. But God spoke to me. And we better understand the importance as young people that we got to guard this thing with everything in us. You listen to your pastor. There's boys that want you. And once they get you and they take you, they'll throw you to a curb because boys are dirty. You hear me? You better listen to me. You young men, you need to stay godly men. You need to stay men with integrity. You need to be men that are above board. You need to be men that don't give in to every little thing that'll come your way. Have some character. Have some morals. Have some principles in your life. All of you got one here? God bless you. You got one now. All of you got one? Everybody here got one? There you go. How about here? Show your brother you can catch this. That's what I'm talking about. Anybody else? Anybody else need one? You know what? I pray to God this don't become something you just put on a shelf. But I pray that you every day. Oh, sorry for the fall. Heads up. Heads up. Help me, Tommy. How many you need up there? Thank you. Here you go. Who else needs one? You need one? Everybody got one? Everybody got one? Listen. Oh, God. Here, give me 2 or 3. I'm going to tell you something. You need one? How many you need over there? Sorry, didn't mean to overlook anyone. Everybody got one over here? Folks, as we stand in closing, is there one more? I'll give it back to you when I'm done. Platform, I'll get you. I'll order some more. Listen to me.